Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Believe it or not, the reason I want this not only recorded but a quick duplicate is for other people. Like when we have our Tuesday meeting, I can pass out this lecture today because this is a kind of a keynote address, and it's also going to cover a lot of ground. As I go on, about halfway, you will get the idea why I passed out and why I'm mentioning certain things. If you notice, the lecture that I hand out at the top, it says 5381. This is right, okay. So it mentions, that has the date on it and the discussion. First of all, cast out all negativity, and the goal is to be alert and tuned up and in time. And remember that you're glad to be here. We're talking to the people that you're glad to be here. And the subject that on that day was potential. And potential is something that's powerful, something that's potent. So it has power, it has potency, but it hadn't became yet. Potential means it's something that has the potential to be certain things. And remember, we're talking we're mainly talking at black youth at that time and other black people that and so this is the discussion. A little while down the way, it talks about every environment, every age produces needs or desires. Nature has the means to satisfy hunger, sex, sleep, and what have you. And so society should develop institutions to answer the needs of the individual and the community, the nation and the world. Then I go into manifest destiny, the way the U.S. had come up in the 1830s, say around 1839, about a global picture, a picture of the United States. And that was called Manifest Destiny. In other words, it was the destiny, as they said, of Anglo-Saxon, white people, to spread all over that continent at that time. Now you got to remember, they had already bought the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 from France. And so they was already all the way over to the Pacific, but not the southern part of the U.S., southwestern part, because they had came all up and was the part France controlled was all the way over to the Pacific coast up in Oregon and what have you, right? And they used to have a thing about with Canada, 54-40 a fight. The border between, I don't know if you remember it in history, but it was 54-40 a fight. That meant that was the longitude ladder, whatever it was, the line up there with Canada. And they were saying, we're going to have 54-40 a fight. In other words, if you don't, this is all in the history books. We do this or we're going to fight. So this is a lecture that we gave, and it talked about manifest destiny. Manifest destiny meant that we should be a two-ocean power. And they did everything that they needed at that time to produce it. Like the Indians were in the way, And the Indians lived off the buffalo. They used the buffalo as his house. Buffalo was his food. Buffalo, it was 6 million buffalo on the plains. Man, can you imagine? They had mobility. They had freedom. Okay, so they sent trains out to do what? To slaughter the buffalo. They changed the style back east to buffalo robes, and even in Europe, buffalo everything. So they killed the buffalo and that way they killed the mobility of Native Americans, And now they had to voluntarily go on reservations or forced on reservations just to have food. When they got on the reservation, they gave blankets with smallpox. They done them in. And they gave them that cough syrup, with opium in it. Man, they worked on it. I don't want to talk about cruelty today because we got a different subject. So they pushed everything aside to develop their destiny. All the books, all the magazines, the glorification of the West. If you were younger, what you could probably tell on TV and old movies that the West was a big deal. It just stopped in the 1960s, they slowed down on Western movies. But when I grew up, at least 80%, 70, 80% of the movies was about the West. Yeah, they was any old stuff you see back in those days, it's all the West. So you could tell they glorified in books, magazines, they glorified the West. Why? Because there ain't nobody out here and go west, young man. That's what it said. Go west, young man. All right. So, but you can see up here, we're talking about potential and what have you. And then it says on page number 2, science says, and I have a little note, biology. Science says any living organism must either adopt or change its environment in order to survive. So like right now, this is important right now because you could see not long ago we had a climate summit, this flyer right here, we had a climate summit right here, okay? And it didn't matter the amount of people that came because we wanted to have a history. A lot of the programs we do are for history. Just the flyer and 2 people come, that's fine. But that we made a certain statement. So it says, science says that any living organism must either adopt or change its environment in order to survive. Now, in those days, we were moving into a climate change era, but this is 1981. The Earth was still, it was there, and there was, people wasn't that paranoid. The Earth still operated like it close to what it was created to do by Allah. Allah gave us a balanced product, al-mizan. This thing is a living organism. So, but it says we are responsible for our own evolution, not Washington, Chicago, Africa. We have to cut the cord. That means this is when Negroes was just getting into, not welfare, but that will, instead of depending on ourselves and change the world, we'll depend on Washington to change it. Like voting and all that, we're saying, hell no. We are responsible for our own evolution. The other thing is, as we go along, you'll see that we didn't just arrive here last week. with evolution, with climate change, and all the stuff we talk about now. We didn't just get here. That's why I wanted to go over this. So we have to study the best examples. If you want to study how fast a man can run, study the best examples, the records. What it says, man, if he can run the such and such, now is so much speed. How tall you can get, you'd have to study Watusis. I wonder if they have any more Watusis. In Rwanda, they were, I don't hear much about them. I think they might have got wiped out with this stuff. You don't hear. Well, Watusis was, they was up there. They were very tall. I saw a film about it. A guy, when he was 10 years old, would be 6 foot something, Yeah, they was tall. They was up there. They were, can you imagine a whole tribe? And I guess the shorter people got jealous and killed them off. Anyway, there are signs in nature and signs in the universe that talk about what we should do. Whether you may not know it, but this lecture is heavily influenced by the chief. This is, at that time, 81, I was really heavily influenced by the chief. Okay. So, I'm telling people down here on page 3, I guess, that you're never too old. That we want to declare jihad. Jihad on poverty, ignorance, darkness, injustice. And we ain't going to let nobody turn us around. Family, drugs, fame, women. I don't know whether that's hardship or leadership. Anyway. Oh, yeah. Our leadership have been turning around. That now you got to remember this is 81. So Eldridge Cleaver and them to turn around. Everybody that you could think of. In fact, they probably show up here on the next page, the last page. Huey, Eldridge, congressmen, mayors, educators. This is let everybody know that all the people that we were counting on at that time, this is the end of the rebellion period, and now people are kind of shaking off, and people are voting, and people have hopes in mayors, and you got to remember, there wasn't no black mayors. The first black mayor was back in 60-something, and they had the Black Nationalist Conference in 75, and this is during that period when people are having confidence or hope. They have hope in this environment. So we're saying Huey, Eldridge, congressmen, mayors. I mean, that's during the black mayor explosion. They just, all the cities, whoosh, black mayors. And the mean thing about it was, at that time when white people are now moving back, right? But that's to keep chasing them. When they moved out into the suburbs, that left the city populated by Negroes. So you had a low tax base, and now you got to remember, 81 is at the beginning of the Rust Belt, the decline. This is the year. 80 and 81 was when everything started heading downhill. During this period, I had friends that worked at GM. They made over $20 an hour then. Now remember $1980. $20 an hour. They all lived up in the hills in California. When you lived in the hills, you lived in they lived like dope dealers and all of that. And if you see some of the old movies from Detroit, when people worked for GM and all that, remember everybody drove Cadillac. Didn't nobody drive they had just started driving so-called what they call Toyotas and all them old Japanese cars. Just to divert for 1 minute, what happened then with the auto industry, they had designed when you design the thing to where it's no more use after a couple of years.
Designed obsolescence.
Obsolescence, that's the word. Designed you just said it. That was the big stuff in those days. I give you an example. The last good Cadillac I had, real good, was 1965. That was a bad boy. That was bad. After that, the 67, the 69, 69 Cadillacs had a 50,000 mile warranty for all the movable parts, transmission and engine and all that. Yeah, 50,000 mile warranty or 5 years. The 1970 Cadillac had 1 year and 12,000 miles. The old cars, you would hit them and you could break your hand. The new ones, if you hit that, they pop like that. I'm talking about 1970 Cadillac. And the engines, the Eldorado in those days had 500 cubic inches. Can you imagine how big that engine was? And a 4-barrel carburetor. My cars had 472 cubic inches. And a 4-barrel carburetor. In the city, you got 9 miles per gallon, and out on the highway, you got 11 miles per gallon. But remember, gasoline was in the 30% percentile. Yeah. Yeah, and a gas tank in those big old cars was 16 gallons or something. Now a gas tank is just this big. It's a little thing. But can you imagine 16 gallons? Anyway, the point, let me get back on the point. This is a habit I have to stay focused on what I'm talking about. That was a serious time. So, potential, something is powerful, something is potent, but it's undeveloped. It hasn't became yet. It has capability, but it's unripe and it's unrealized. And in this lecture, we're talking about young black people have power, they have potency, but they haven't became yet. They're not developed. They're not using it. Okay. Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. Okay, I want to read a portion of this. Together we must develop a plan of action and work with missionary zeal to bring about and play a role in the earth liberation movement, which aims to free the earth from the parasitical behavior of man, establish a non-predatory system of interconnected global harmony, nurture and further a culture of earth first custodianship, understand and respect the rights of the earth, which should be treated as a living organism, which it is, and envision and actualize a global redesign for the 21st century. In our new step, we have expectations for 2022. Yeah. Just to read a little bit more. During this period of global evolution, we are reaching out to all people of goodwill who wish to participate in the effort of global redesign. Toward achieving this ultimate vision, we are working diligently to reform even those who have worked and cooperated with Zionist American organizations as saboteurs, agent provocateurs, infiltrators, traitors, and what have you. This includes misguided believers who have snitched on their own brothers and sisters on and on and on. And our As-Sabiqun, we have a 5-point program. Number one is forgiveness. And we talk about FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, TASS, NSA, and what have you. The other thing I would like to just mention, now that was from 2011. Good God Almighty. 10 years ago. This one. Here's another one from that same era. We'll just read a little bit of it. Okay, definition of strategic management. We have an idea about what we need to do. Situation analysis, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, evaluation, and control. The other, before we get into the main part of the talk, I'm reading from Surah Baqarah, Surah Baqarah 250, 251. When they advanced, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, when they advanced to meet Goliath and his forces, they prayed, "Our Lord, pour out constancy on us. Make our steps firm. Help us against those who reject faith." 251. By Allah's will, they routed them, and David slew Goliath. And Allah gave him power and wisdom and taught him whatever else he willed. This is the key point that now, when we started the Masjid back in 80 and 81, this is the first Masjid on the Sunnah out there on the West Coast. And at the high point, we had 10 Masajid. That's surrounded by the FBI, CIA, and all that. We had annual conventions with hundreds of people attending, right here. And one out there in California. We had 2. Just like everybody else have annual conventions, we had it too. Yeah. The masjid would be full. You've probably seen some of the old pictures of Eid prayer here. Yeah, it's packed, everybody. You can't get in. Okay. By Allah's will, they routed them, and David slew Goliath. And Allah gave him power and wisdom and taught him whatever else he willed. This is about optimism. We never give up on optimism. When I was beat in the hospital and had that UX Ayub, only thing I could say was optimism. Got to be optimistic, And he was looking at me like this poor guy is like, it was like the brothers sent him to come and not stay too long because they know I don't need no visitors and all of that. But he couldn't stay long because he was sitting there looking at me. I had not bandages. By then you could see all the clamps and staples, and I probably looked pretty bad. But he stayed a few minutes, and that's all I could say. I couldn't say I couldn't say nothing else but that. I mean, I had 2-3 words. They knocked the salat out of me, all the Quran and Hadith. I was like this. I couldn't write it, boy. I could imagine it was probably traumatic for him just to watch, a guy that's always active and he's sitting there and can't write, you know what I mean, and da 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 da, and don't even know how to pray and don't know what. Anyway, so that was the environment. Now, that's why this stuff is important. By Allah's will, they routed them, and David slew Goliath, the big giant, whatever the giant, the giant of the time. This deals with the giant, the monster of the time. Our monster. So you remember all these talk about what we're dealing with at our time and where we want to fit in. Where we're going in 1 minute or two is where we are right now today. So David slew Goliath, and Allah gave him power, the ability to do things, the ability to get things done. Wisdom, hikmah. Hikmah, one of the main meaning of hikmah is not wisdom. It's the second meaning. The main, or wisdom might be the first, but hikmah means the ability to put things in their proper place. Yeah, proper order.
You were the first one I heard that from. And I looked it up. I was like, yeah, there actually is a.
Yeah, that's what it says. That might be the second meaning.
Yeah, the Arabic dictionary.
Yeah, it means the ability to put things in a proper order. Right. Okay. Now you got to remember, in our studies, we're not these mamby-pamby, marshmallow Muslims. We just never have been, and we never thought that it was necessary to do that. Okay. So Allah gave him power, wisdom, and taught him whatever else he willed. In other words, if you go out and face Goliath, go on out there. Allah gonna give you, if your number haven't come up, Allah, you don't know what Allah wrote. Allah may wrote martyrdom for you, you got it covered. Fine, everything's fine. A lot of people don't believe that. I don't want to die. I mean, it's what they say. But if you really believe what the Quran Hadith is saying, hey, So Allah gave him power, wisdom, and taught him whatever else he willed. Then the other part. And did not Allah check one set of people by means of another? This is in a couple of places in Quran. The earth would indeed be full of mischief, but Allah is full of bounty to the worlds. Hey, if the good people don't check the bad people, it's going to be a lot of mischief. And that's what we have today. We have a lot of mischief in the world. And we have always been about this. I read these because it's not far from what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about that. We'll save that till another time. Okay, here's what we want to talk about today. We've given some of our background information and what have you. And we've always been correct on what our analysis But we don't want to ever get hooked up on what they call it paralysis by analysis. You know, you analyze well and you're paralyzed by your analysis. Okay. You know, the hadith talks about delay. And technically, I was so happy when I read that the delay is a strategy, is a tactic. Because delay has been delay, longevity, being way out there has been our centerfold. This is what we've been about all the time. Okay, and since we've been out there, we haven't been basically wrong. If you were to read this from 1981, you would see that was a perfect analysis. And the goal, because it has goals later on, for that period of time. Okay. But the other thing is we're responsible for what, there's a hadith. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam went out to the graveyard to visit the martyrs, Aisha radiallahu anha followed him. And she kind of thought, this is a girl anyway, you know. Not that's bad, but I mean, she just thought he going to one of his other wives' houses. This is my night, you know. This is what the commentary hadith gives that indication. So she found him at the graveyard weeping and crying for the martyrs and praying for the martyrs. And she ran back home. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew she had followed him, and she asked him, why did I do that? She said, the shaitan. And she's thinking, I'm the daughter of Abu Bakr, I'm the wife of the Prophet. I have a shaitan? She said, yeah. She said, even thou, Rasulullah? Said, yes. But Allah has allowed me to conquer that shaitan, and he only suggests good to me. That means the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was human. There was an alternative force always trying to whisper and get him to do wrong, right? Oh, you ain't no prophet, man. You've been drinking. You done went crazy. You know what I mean? Talking prophethood. You ought to be ashamed of yourself running around here talking like that. Getting everybody all stirred up and killed and hung all on us. You know, talking all that mess. Got hot rocks on Po Bilal. Look at him out there. And you talking about you got a word sit up in that cave. You know what I mean? This is shaitan. Shaitan be busy. He ain't gonna, and don't nobody. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, yes, I have that alternative voice and focus on me, but I have conquered him. And now, this is added commentary, if he wants attention from me, you know, people want attention. If shaitan want any attention from me, he have to suggest good stuff. Yeah, he can't come with that, oh, you ain't nobody, you just, he can't come with that. If the shaitan wants, this is Sahih Muslim, you ever heard this hadith before?
I hadn't heard that one, but I've heard the narrations about the...
He only suggests, yeah. Okay, this is a hadith. This is Sahih Muslim, so this is pretty. So, if we're going to look at ourselves, what does this mean to us? You want to go somewhere big, you want to be hopeful, you want to be optimistic. The shaitan is not about optimism and hope. He going to find anything he can find. It don't make no difference whether it's a little thing or a big thing. He going to put that out there, for you to get paranoid, uncomfortable. You'll wake up in the middle of the night with an idea you think is your idea, and it's old shaitan whispering, waswasa. And then he whispers, and then he withdraws after, and then you think the bad idea is yours. You go out and steal something, and you thought, man, that was a bad idea. Well, it wasn't your idea. Shaitan suggested that to you, and then he disappeared. And then you think, this is all psychological, you thought, man, I did wrong, I messed up. Now you're beating yourself. I'm not really good. I stole something, I did this. Right? Yeah. Hey, you blaming yourself. But it wasn't you, it was the shaitan. Right? Okay, a lot of people have backed up, and a lot of people have, they're good Muslims, but they do things that don't make sense as far as oppression and not speaking out. But now the new, younger Muslims, they getting a little, oh yeah, restless, and they talking too. They not as scared as their parents. You got to remember, their parents came here during this period of the 80s, late 70s and 80s, and they wanted and they saw what happened to Negroes and others. So they had a quietness about them. Okay, but the young people are saying they're kicking our behind anyway. You know what I mean? And all these cowards care, all the young people, they're saying, we're not putting up, we're not, so guess which way they're coming? They're coming our way. I mean, they're coming our way in the whole crew, let's say 25 below. They already see what happened to you. And they know American history. See, they've been, the other ones that came here, they wasn't raised here. Only thing they know about America is the streets is paved with gold. Right? And what they saw in the
only thing they know is the propaganda.
Propaganda. And when they got here, what they saw what was going on, it scared them to death, but they got their education, they get a little money, so they would be quiet. Their kids are born and raised here. Just think about it. They're Americans. Born and bred Americans. And that gives you a streak of rebelliousness, whether they know it or not. And they mix with white kids, and they mix with everybody, and they see their neighbors, they're probably not in too much debt because their parents kept them out of it. But they look at all the kids they go to school with, they in debt up to here, and they got all kind of, hey man. And then guess what else they see? This beautiful American dream. They see nice little white kids are drunkards on campus. That's the goal, is to get drunk, to get plastered to put this mean, miserable life away, get it away. And also the debt burden. I can't get no job paying no more than $4, $5 an hour, and don't become a doctor, good God Almighty. Let's say you might have $200,000 debt, and it goes up if you don't pay, you know what I mean? So you can pay $20,000 a year, and the instant went up $20,000 because you ain't paying fast enough. All of that is happening. See, when I was in Iran, I was giving a lecture at Zahra University. It's for young ladies. And some of them had been influenced by, well, we have to wear hijab and we have to do this and we don't have freedom. I said, well, take your hijab off then. I said, going out there, I said, I said, then be like the American girl. They the ones told you. I said, American girls commit suicide then. blow your brains out or drink yourself to death. Yeah. Or how old are y'all? 20 years old? Some of you would have had about 5 babies by then, the ones that wouldn't use birth control. I said the rest, you're destroying your body. Yeah, and you didn't had abortions. You didn't kill 3 babies in the last couple of years. I was telling them, I said, that picture they show you about America, I say the people committing suicide is students. Young people that got their whole life in front of them.
Yeah, there were a couple, I remember there were some suicides on my campus.
Yeah. Can you imagine their whole life in front of them? And if you look at it, you don't see nothing wrong. You don't see nothing wrong. Why would you? Suicide is a sign of desperation. That means that people have been sold this garbage and it begins to smell and well up in them and they can't take it anymore. Okay, now, about Dawood to the rescue. Allah gave him power, wisdom, and taught him whatever else he needed to know to get the job done. And it's his job. If the good people don't check the bad people, it's going to be, the earth going to be, it's going to be forest fires. Don't say that here, but that's what it means. They're going to burn up the whole earth. You can't drink no more water out of nothing. You can't drink the water in the creek run by my house. You drink that, you'll drop dead on the spot. Right? And if you pump any water, it used to be, we used to all have pumps when I was a kid. We had a pump, you hadn't pump water. Boy, or we had a rain barrel. The water went down, it went into the rain barrel. And that's the water you drink and the water you use for everything. From the rain barrel and the pump, okay. They call that spring water now. The water we was drinking is just wonderful water. We just thought it was regular old water, Hey, man. And I was born in the 40s. When I was 4 or 5 years old, the earth was still kind of nice. It was really nice. Hey, that's a long time gone. Okay. For us, we're not going into a new stage. We're in that stage right now. And our next move is really, well, I'll just be straight out with it. Just right now, we will be going back to California to do some da-da-da-da. But our next move, our real next move right now is, if you notice, we've never moved anybody into these houses. Anybody else look and say, that's crazy. Why not rent it to somebody? We got that. We got our stuff downstairs. We got plenty of room. This will all be remodeled soon into the first stage of central headquarters. House next door, over there. Somebody come into town for a conference. But we're going to, like in 81, we were stepping out there. Yeah, we're stepping out there again. And we've been, this ain't nothing new, but I wanted to bring the other things so when I say this right here, what I'm getting ready to say, it won't look like, and that nigga went to sleep last night and woke up this morning. He left Juma and must have took some acid. You know what I mean? And now he's out there, right? I mean, that's what it would sound like, but So let me try to explain where we are now and what we want to do. We looked at where we are and we hinted at many things. We hinted at, oh, we like to go around and talk to all the black youth at the black colleges. We will. And we want to do this, we want to do that. But the earth is, history is not waiting on us. This evolution and hit us right smack dab in our eyes. And I'm going to give a little idea of what we might consider our solutions to the problem. Okay. We've talked recently about not being affected by paralysis and analysis. We analyze so well, like any university, they analyze, but they're paralyzed. Technically, we've never done that. Now, delay is another thing. As I'm talking, remember the hadith on delay. You know, that delay is a part of Islam, you know. And delay is definitely a part of our mission. And we talk about delay, we talk about longevity, we talk about all of those things that go over a long period of time. We've studied a lot about our great leaders that they didn't have time, and the ones that did have a long time, they, during the rebellious period of the 1960s and early 70s, that people didn't even talk about Paul Robeson. He had skill and he had time in, but they didn't ask him anything. They just didn't converse with him. They left him out. All of his experience didn't go for nothing. We can't depend on dummies for our future. Dummies. The people that are running the world now, they dummies. Oh boy, they not no little dummies either. Tell the truth. We're not going to leave our life in the hands of real live dummies. Now, I'm talking about, anyway, just if you want to see what a dummy is, just stick around. They're dummies. Okay, we have to appeal to the people, develop a platform to see how everybody's not paralyzed. People want to make a few moves, but we had to wonder, what is our mission in all this? Well, it looks like it's a big one. We're going out and get real busy on educating the people. Not to accept the world the way it is. Not to accept the world the way it is. Not to accept this is unnatural. Fires, floods, they have them every now and then in history, but they don't have them all day, every time. That's all you get, right? They done burn up the West Coast and they headed this way. No, they didn't burn it up. They didn't burn it up. And you would be just, man, if you could see the Rockies and those beautiful streams and the snow-capped mountains out there, man, it is really unbelievable. Nice. You go from California over to Lake Tahoe and what have you. One of the Lake Tahoe's on the Nevada line. Part of it is on the California line. It's just fresh water. You could go out and drink the water still, even now. Forest fire was about 2 miles from Lake Tahoe the other day. Okay, what are we going? Here's our point: we're not trusting anymore, boss man. And if you would listen to some of our lectures, you might have thought we were depressed. Not depressed. We're optimistic. We're not going to take it. Yeah, and I remember I just told you the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what he had said about the shaitan, that he overpowered and he trained and captured and dominated the shaitan till the shaitan only suggests good to him. Right? So this principle of angelic, institutional, and historic studies, like right now, we're going to develop what we have around here, but this is not enough. We have to go global. We have to, now remember, we're not the only ones thinking about this. Many people. So we had it in the mix now. We're headed in the mix. Don't worry about we got all the CDs and DVDs and tapes we need to prove our historical commitment to this. The stuff that happened to us in California was part of a historical process. All of the attacks, all of the challenges on money, all of those things that they did, right? Even right now, we paying $10,000 worth of taxes and we ain't using nothing. But when everybody was here, we spent, in 10 years, we spent $500,000 on our school. Yeah, we did. You probably heard about how.
I've heard about the school. I've been around a while.
Yeah, and every one of our kids was at a higher university. Every one of them. I mean, at one of them, my kids is up in Boston. Everyone else is around here somewhere studying mononuclear diocletics, whatever they go study. I said, good. And they were all good students. And they wouldn't leave. I had to put them out. Click the light. Y'all got to go home. If you stay here any longer, I have to leave the heater on this winter. And the heater, I'm not telling them they use it up thousands of dollars a month or nothing like that, but a lot. Anyway, alhamdulillah. So all of our whatever we are, hope to be, and have been is kind of clear for everybody to see. Okay. So we call it principle of institutional and the principle of angelic institutional and historic studies. Okay. And our university, now remember, let's take a picture of our university, big university. Wherever it's going to come from, we're going to buy it, we're going to get it, we're going to have people get involved. We may have Chinese, like the Chinese, they study so much they won't let but a certain amount of them in Harvard. Well, we're going to make them the chief of some of the stuff we're going to do, and they'll get to have, instead of 2%, 40% of Chinamans in the U.S., not only the ones that can come over from overseas. All right? This new world, this is what we're getting ready to do is wonderful. It's harmonizing the youth. And we was always saying in the middle of we got to do this stuff ourselves. We can't wait on the youngsters to do nothing. It's been flipped on us. The young people are ready. The young people, I ain't gonna commit suicide. I don't feel like dying and I'm 20 years old. And why should I pay $500,000 for this education? Right?
It's like it don't even guarantee nothing, you know? It's like you go in debt and you just get a chance at paying it off.
No problem. We have a world full of people who are ready. No, we have to explain to them. That means you have a harvest, you have to harvest what the earth produces. This world that we live in have produced them. There's nothing wrong with them at all. But they're trying to fit them in the world that exists today. What we have to educate them on, what we call it, we was calling it the 21st century, but now we aiming at the 22nd century. What we want Earth to look like. First stage, what we want the Earth to look like by 2050. Right? And that's next week. Hey man, that's next week. This is 2021. To me, I mean, 2000 was just a little bit back there. To everybody else, if you're a certain age, yeah, I was just a little kid in 2000. But for me, 2000, I was just doing the same thing I'm doing in 2000. I was doing this, the same thing. It ain't no difference. And I look at it like it was a few months back, like not like 100 years ago. All right, now, here's what we're talking about. In our university, I remember a University of California in like 1964. It was the home of the free speech movement, Mario Savio. Before, you went to the Ivy League University, you got a certain haircut, you did it, Imagine a student in the late 50s. They wasn't talking, they was happy to be there, happy to be in America, happy. And then by 1964, they was beginning to get woke. And the first sign of it was UC Berkeley. Mario Savio was the head of the free speech movement. Can you imagine if you was on the university, you couldn't say nothing about the university. And he was saying there's a free speech movement. This was big. You should be able to say what you want. You get to talking crazy, they'd have you out of there in a hurry. Okay. Now, for 2022 vision, not the 21st. In other words, what do we want the world to look like on New Year's Day, 2022? We have to start right now. In order to do that, we have to have what do we want it to look like in 10 years and 20 years and on? Yeah. And we have to set goals to do that. The universities that we have now won't do that. That's why it's incumbent upon us to do a whole new, either buy a university that's getting old and ain't nobody going there. No. We have to institute, now look at what we're going to have though. Department of Utopian Studies. Department of Utopian Studies, not colonial studies about people getting killed and walked and trampled on. Department of Utopian Studies. What will Department of Utopian Studies? It would be you could get your degree on how to make the world a semi-utopian environment. And at our university, you're going to have to do 3-4 years working in that. Your PhD won't be you write a thesis on it. The whole class got to get involved in implementing something related to utopian studies. So they got to get together, each class, each year, they got to get together, and what is our project? Maybe it'll take you 4 years to do it, right? But now we got to get committed to our project has to make the world better, more toward utopianism. Yeah. Yeah. University of Ideas and Implementation. Yeah. Well, where we were staying here when we was talking about the Department of Utopian Studies, all the departments would be kind of like this. Say, in environmental studies, 6-month program of studying how bad the environment is, and a 3 to 5 year in implementation of solving the problem. That's how you get your degree from our university. Yeah. Okay, now this is what we expect. This is where we're heading right now. You might say, well, wait a minute, we was going to do this. I'm sorry. When you think about the world we're living in, we have to include all the black studies. We have to include all of that into this curriculum. We don't have time to go and get the people fired up at Howard and get the change they got their curriculum. You'll beat your head against the wall to try to get them to change, right?
You will beat your head against the wall.
You will be beating your head. Okay, now, but at our university, it's people who are hopeful, people who are optimistic, people who are tired. Are you tired of being depressed? Yes, I am. Are you tired of feeling overpowered by the system? Yes. Are you tired of dirty water, dirty garbage, dirty? Yes. Well, you come to our university. Come on over. We ain't got no money. Well, don't worry. We'll get China or somebody to give you the money. Right?
Yeah.
Because remember, we're going to have most of the faculty will be mostly Chinese. It's not that we hustle nobody. No, we wouldn't do that. Absolutely not. You know, yeah. I mean, we've been thinking back from 100 years ago.
It's going to take more than just us. This is a global.
No doubt about it. But we just gonna get our ball rolling. We know what this is what we getting ready to do right now. I mean, this is what we're getting ready to do right now. That's why we were never diverted against assaults and they trying to send us somewhere else. We go to California. We're going to try to get 200 million, maybe 300 million. That'll get us started. But that ain't no money for what we talking about doing. We're trying to fix the world. You got to realize it's possible. This happened in 1981. 1980. If we prepared to do that and we went to being all around the world on all the big platforms, and for Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui to say 20-something years ago, this is the guy is the essence of something, what he said. I said, all that, I said, dog, Doc. And that's why the people, Doc turned the people against him. I mean, boy, look at here. Before he said that, I was just one of the brothers. After that, all the knives came out. And all the people, hey, we're in this together, bam. It's I'm too Brutus, you too,
Right, yeah.
you too, I see, you too, rich Indians, you too, all of y'all? Yes, everybody. We against progress. We ain't playing none of that. And a nigga at the head of the table, we're not doing it. We don't believe in it. It's anti-human to have a Negro sitting down there talking about the Negro is good. Negroes ain't no good, they ain't never been no good, and they can't be no good. Let's get that straight from the beginning. That's the way they've been acting. When Dr. Siddiqui said that, all of a sudden, you gave it 10 years, pretty soon I wasn't on no platform. All of a sudden, hey, this is the next big chief. And systematically, slowly, they chipped at it. I'm sitting there watching them. I know what they're doing. I know they're chipping it. Get this guy off he's dangerous. See, because why did Doc do that? I'm telling you. No, he saw something.
Well, yeah, I mean, just with the other brothers, maybe he didn't anticipate.
Look, no. Here's what they could speak real good. They could do all of this, and Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui knew these guys, and he knew me. Now, he knew them, Zafar and them. He knew them longer. He knew them from England. He knew them from all kind of, they spoke the same language. He knew all of that. But every time we had a program, I'd be walking with Doc. Doc, what about this? Doc, what about that? And so he knew evidently the other people wasn't doing that. And also, I'm giving his props but I'm doing it in a colored way. I'm saying, Doc, how we gonna do this? I'm asking all them hard questions. I'm like the student that's like this pushing the professor. And then when the professor is ready to die, he said, that's the student right there. He knows because the other ones they're not, you know what I mean? It's almost like they're just floating along and they're not interested. To them, it's just talk. So, and then Doc is, when we have a program in London, and Doc pulled me aside, Imam Musa, we're counting on you, because see, all of them are intellectuals. And you wouldn't believe it, but in those days, and then you're young, you're full of juice. So I spoke more energetic, more focused, all that stuff than I do now. I got an old man delivery. But it's okay, it's all right. He's for his time. But then when they left the hall, they was charged up, everybody ready to go. And so if you notice on that lecture, Muhammad Al-Asi spoke, I spoke, and then Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui. Because he said, well, y'all done put me in a fix here. I got to speak after Muhammad Al-Asi, and I got to speak after Imam Musa, and on and on and on. And these guys, and remember what he said about me. He said, we all know about racism. And I'm in South Africa. And all the audience is South Africans. There's 3,000 people there from all over South Africa. And they know about racism. They got as bad a racism as we had here, or worse. And what he said, we thought we knew about racism till this guy, whatever I said, it clarified what it meant, what it was. Anyway, so they start working on, we'll get rid of this nigga. Talking about it. That's what they did. That's why there's no, hey, we need to hear Imam Musa because they started the next time I went there. In 97, I said, oh. By 98, the pattern had set in then. I said, man, this is cold-blooded. So I already knew that Dr. Kaleem Siddiqui's vision and his dream, okay. The university of the 22nd century, not the 21st. In other words, Department of Optimism and Implementation. That means that these are our departments we're going to have. The Department of Optimism and Implementation. You know, there's a difference here. We got optimism, but implementation. That means you get a PhD from our place when you go on a several-year project and you get something done and you record it so people who come after you will know what you've done. This is a working educational environment. Also, expectation studies. Expectation. We'll study expectation. Okay, now remember, they got a curriculum today that leads nowhere.
Yeah, it just leads you to the job. You know, that's...
Well, you could get a job. A few people can get a job. But not the people. Why are they charging them all that money when they can't do anything with it? We're not going to have that type of university.
Right. It'd be a pretty nifty idea if they had actually just based off your projected income when you get out of school, that would be how much they charge you, but they ain't doing that. Like, you know,
Other countries, you go to university, okay, go ahead. It's all written into, just like you go to school here free, well, go to university free.
Right.
Okay. That should be, remember, that would be Europe is more civilized than we are here. That's why we're going down faster than Europe. No, we're going, look, no, and right now, that's why, okay, delay, that was back in the day, year before last year, all that. But you can see we're not talking about no delay now. Why? Delay was good. Delay now is implementation. And we're not talking about implementation on a little teenage level. We're talking about a whole new environment. Can you imagine how far, when I was talking this stuff in 1981, what we're doing now, what we're talking about now, what we've already accomplished. Now, you got to remember, we have more attention than anybody in the United States. Everybody paying attention to us, but they just say, which way is he coming? So we can go over there. We don't want nobody, we don't want to rub up against him or nobody. Or if the people down in Texas, they leave, I do a fundraiser with them, and then Brother Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, and they supposed to help, and you call them and they don't help. Hey, that's it. Okay. They all see what we're moving into. We have to be. We're optimistic about what we're doing. We know all of this stuff is possible. Okay, if we did all of this stuff now, the stuff we have to do now is 10 or 20 or 50 times bigger than that. Right. But when we was writing this stuff, this was a hope. Like it was a hope. It was like this stuff is not guaranteed to anybody. You're just getting out of prison, you know, talking all that talk. Right? It's different. You know, you just charged up. This is a lot of belief going into this. You know, okay. Now, what we're talking about now is after we have gained the experience. in order to do what we're talking about now, we had to gain experience. Their experience of the Negro up to that time was not sufficient to do this, nor was the mentality. You're just going to help everybody in the world? Yeah, we got to, but that's the way the world is now. It's not a Negro world. If you help save the Negroes, what have you done? Nothing. They're going to die. They're going to drown. You're just setting them up to drown. They're going to drown or get burned up in a forest fire. If you saved all the Negroes, if you gave every Negro a super duper degree from Howard or any of the other places, right? All you'd be doing is setting them up to get, and don't do nothing else. They just get burned up alive. You just dress the nigga up to get burned up. Tell the truth. Because the other stuff, but what about the world? And this is not only what we've dreamed about and thought about, this is where Allah was heading us all along. To the world, the globe, where everybody, is in on this. This is not a Negro movement. It's not a Chinaman movement. It's how to use all this. And who cares about all those people except how they fit into it? The world now takes a global solution, not a national solution. The filthy water on the Danube goes start up there, way up there somewhere in Europe, and it goes right on through all of Europe. I say the Danube because I was going somewhere and I had an overnight stay and I was on the Danube. And so at that time I used to run with 10-pound hand, 5 pounds in each hand, and I'd run down. So I was running down the Danube from my hotel. And guess who? Here comes the police. And a nigga running in Germany, wherever it was. Okay. Stop. I should have said Heil Hitler. I'd have been all right, but they just, so they couldn't speak. I said, see that big hotel? And I happened to have my thing from the hotel. Here's my key. Here's the hotel. Me, hotel, da-da-da-da-da. Running, exercise, physical fitness, that stuff.
They just saw a black man running.
That's it. It happened on the highway, and this was a Mexican, I'm telling you, near San Antonio. I traveled all over the country, so I'm up at the top of this hill. Oh, this is perfect. So I parked, on I-10. And it's simple. If I run down the hill, guess what? I got to run back up the hill. So them long, out on the open highway, the long downhill part. So I run down the hill. It's a long hill, probably a mile long, long grade down. Perfect for traveling. You got to get your blood circulating, right? So you run down the hill with 10-pound hand weights, so 5 in each hand, and a little sweat gear on. So you're going to run back up the hill. When I get to the bottom and I'm getting ready to come up to the top, here comes the Mexican police, Highway Patrol, Texas. I'm running. Drop those weights. I said, drop the weights. Sure. So I throw the weights down. Why are you out here doing this? I said, information I get, and you know this too. Highway Patrol, they teach everybody to west stop, walk around, freshen up, wake up. I said, you didn't see the license plates of that car, California. This is Texas. I'm running to wake up, to get the blood circulating. Why you have those hand weights? I said, because they're heavy, and if you have hand weights, you got to work harder than if you don't have them. So I said, why the hell are you out here anyway? What's wrong with you, man? You one of the people. What are you? Don't give me that brother stuff. I said, okay, homie. Forget it. So what you want? Okay, but you got to be careful out here. I say, if I run off from a penitentiary, y'all got a lot of Texas penitentiaries, I'd have enough sense not to be running now on Highway I-10. Isn't this I-10? It's like I-80, I-90, I-70 out there. I said, is this sort of business highways in the United States? I said, if I run off from it, I know y'all got a lot of penitentiary down here, but I'd have enough sense to walk through some woods or something than to be running up and down the doggone highway, anyway, with hand weights on and plastic. But that's the way people treat you. Anyway, Department of Visionary Science. Department of African and Asian Studies. African and Asian Studies. See, a lot of things we have to teach people too. We have to teach Chinamans, okay, you guys are nice. Go back to China. Leave Africa alone. Send a little help here and there. Maybe 2 or 3 of you stay behind, but they're going back home. Why should we go back home? I said, because you work harder. The Africans don't work that hard. They don't work that hard. They don't study that hard. If you come here, what kind of stores you're selling Chinese noodles to Africans? And the Africans can't sell ugali. You know what ugali is? That's what they eat. Now they're eating this crap potato chips. Why would next week Africans going to be having ulcers, headaches, and everything from eating the crap you produce? Because you got to produce it, seal it up in a package, put some preservatives in there, so it'll last 2-3 weeks or 2-3 years. Whatever you do, it's not good for them. It's not good for you either. But you follow that American model. You have to go home. Chinamen go home, like a white man go home, whatever they say, No, China is doing good, but it's slipping that you start smelling yourself, and then after a while, all that good stuff. If we catch it now, it's fine. But go back home and help Dr. So Ing Bong Tong, somebody, help him. No, help him. He done developed seawater rice. Rice that he's developing that, and it's good. Okay, now, and China then did stuff with the land. Go help and, do away with desertification, and all of that, and help irrigate China. And you only use 1/3 of it. So go fix the other 2/3 up. The Gobi Desert, all that you don't use it. Go fix it up. Go back to China and do it. Leave the African alone. And don't bribe these African leaders. They'll sell each other out for a little or nothing. And the stuff that other people, foreigners, have done in Africa is unbelievable. I mean, the stuff that the Africans do to each other now is a European invention. When Africans used to fight each other in little wars, little tribal wars, if you got caught, you just had to go and be a servant for that tribe. Yeah, but you're gonna live there, work there. You probably get married in that tribe, and you know your tribe is right across the street. You could run off anytime you want, right, and go back home. But the rule was, okay, we captured you, so. But now, them child soldiers they slaughter, they get them high off. All this stuff that they doing to the African mind is unbelievable. Remember, the weaker you are, the more susceptible you are. That's why black people in America are more susceptible to the harms of drugs and everything. But white people now, America need our help, man. The world need our help. And that's why uh, we're a world community. Because, see, we've studied the world, we've lived around the world, we've visited around the world, even today, right now. We haven't been nowhere in a little while, but who needs to go every week, right? Department of Visionary Science. So in our university. Department of Visionary Science, not just everyday science, visionary science, hopeful science, optimistic science, science that do good for people. You won't produce no atomic, we ain't gonna blow nobody up in this visionary science. We don't want to kill nobody. We're not even gonna investigate it. We did already know. In fact, as we move along into the future, we're gonna try to gobble all that stuff up, and all the weapons you have would be for target practice. Because who wants to shoot an animal? You know what I mean? With them, you ever see this hunt now? They'd be behind all this camouflage, and they got binoculars, can see 100 miles, and they got a scope. If you was out chasing an animal with a bow and arrow, okay, it's not bad. But if you can see, and then you see all them antlers sticking up, right? I watched a couple of little hunting shows. It's not even close to fit. The guy got a scope on that rifle, you know, them big scopes they got now, and he can shoot that animal dozens of miles away. He can shoot wherever. If he can see him, he can shoot him. Hey, it ain't have nothing to do with nothing. And he's not gonna eat him. He's gonna cut his head off and hang it up on the thing. All them. No. We'll do something else. The human being keeps doing what he's been doing till you train him out of it. The human being, it was necessary for them to hunt a couple 100 years ago. And we used to all go hunting, you know, our families, go coons and possums and whatever they had down there in the South. You can't go that hunting much no more. There ain't nothing else out there in the woods hardly. Can you imagine America full of animals, all that stuff? Hey, man. And anyway, Department of Visionary Science. Sweep past aside. Sweep the past aside with desired future. Desired future. What do we want? The stuff we've been doing, can you imagine? It's difficult to train yourself for a new future when you got to almost design what you want the life to be like and then train yourself to move in that direction. You just keep doing what you always did, right? And that's the way people are. Dreams to fit our future. Department of Futuristic Studies. In other words, the world what we live in now is a copy of the old, a repetitive of that don't work anymore. We got too many people to live the way we've been living. So probably we can ease down on population because population it's just too many people for the earth. Well, we kind of cool down a little bit to whatever it is, but we got science that can help that. And if you want to cut down on the population, make people richer. Wealthy people have too much to do, and they don't want kids. They get selfish. Kids, you know, you know, the wealthier the people get, less children they have, right? Nowadays, okay, so you don't have to use a lot of population control. Just make sure people get not the stuff, useless stuff, but we got to prioritize what's good in the world. You know what I mean? Now it's still. Can you imagine people are so dumb that you have to have more and more and more and more, and they're getting more and more and more, and they're not happy, and they don't have enough sense to say, well, you know, when I got rich, and they told me that the more you have, the happier you are. I said, that ain't working with me. And I slowed down. Or I kept making money. But it's like right now, I don't need money for me. You see where I live and what I do. I could care less. Because I already had it. I already know what it do. It don't, look, hey, I'm telling you, I know what I feel like now. And I know what I felt like at the best of those times. At the best of those times, whatever your wealth was, oh, it's going to burn up. Oh, I'm going to lose it. And all them pretty clothes, if I leave the house, nigga going to break in, burglarize the house, steal my clothes. You know, all my money, I got $1 billion here, over here, $500,000 over here. It's just under a rock somewhere. And you just worried all the time about junk, about money, paper money, with white people on it, George Washington on the front of the money, and you worried about them. That's why, anyway, hey, I think values, human concerns, and the old values of people being more concerned about each other. The human being been full of jives on Jump Street, but there's certain size communities that are conducive to where everybody know each other, they know their good points, their bad points, and that's what this humanistic study is about. We study the human being, and now let's do what helps things to be better, right? Yeah, not with what we're doing stuff. There's so many cars, the people don't drive them. Right? There's so many, all of this stuff, it's not of any use. And it's doing more harm than good. I'll speed up. Department of Climactic and Implementation Studies. Remember, we got this word implementation. The study of climate, but what are we going to do? We're going to study climate. That's what the department, but implement, you can't just study it. It's like the dummies and they become a PhD on this, that, and other, and they don't know nothing about it. not at our joint. You're going to have to work in that environment. If you're taking forestry studies, okay, you can have 6 months study of forestry, but you got the rest of the 4 or 5 years, you got to be out in the forest, right? Yeah, and studying and writing and ideas and meeting on now this part of the forest, what can we do that helps this part of the forest be better? Or get it back to if we can just get it back to the way it was, that'll be a first start. Let's try to do that for a while. And then after we get it back the way it was when Allah gave it to us, then we'll study alteration of environment and all of that. You know what I mean? Because we're here. We can do whatever we want. But we're not using any responsibility. Just produce some plastic. So the ocean's full of plastic. It's okay. Right? No responsibility. All right, let me try to speed up a little bit. What we want the earth to look like in 15 years and 25 years. This is the original plan. We've always had this. So we go from now. And for us, we're starting right now. Today, we've been started a while back. But what I mean is, we're implementing all of this thing, and the implementation of what we're talking about now covers everything that we've talked about. Example, we talk about going to black universities and black colleges. Okay, we're going to do that. Okay, we talked about super homeless and stuff. That's in it too. That goes within this. We got research we can do on homelessness and what we can implement there. We implement it, we study it, we say we can do a better job. And we do it. Yeah. So everything is now research and development to help, not to get anything from it. No. Okay. Earth, animal-friendly institutions, patterns of behavior, and delay. Okay, that's earth-friendly. Earth and animal-friendly institutions. So the institutions are earth-friendly and animal-friendly. Or we can say animal-friendly and earth-friendly first and put ourselves last, not first. Because Allah gave us all this ability, and when we don't use it right, Allah gonna misguide you and run you crazy. And Allah not gonna misguide you. You misguide yourself. Okay, I'll read a couple more of these and call it a day. Work for the future of yourselves and the children. We can solve any problem created by man. Yeah, man. So we have work, and in parentheses I have fight and struggle for the future. Yourselves, your children. We can solve any problem created by man. In other words, if we mess this stuff up, we can fix it. Right? All we got to do is, there's no incentive. Okay, right now we're not super extraordinary. We're fitting into a groove that's developing around the world. A mentality. We're like the collective mentality that developed in the 60s, 50s and 60s about colonialism and racism and all of that. Okay, this is the collective mentality. And the way I believe is Allah slowed us down and aged us so that when we're talking to younger people, we're doing our part. When younger people are talking to each other, they're doing their part. In other words, we're not pessimistic about the future. We're not going to allow this old mean man to make us pessimistic. There's so many fires, it's burning up the world. What are we going to do? We're going to fix it. Right? We're optimistic. Most of the people right now, they want to feel like us. Now we just have to get to them and give them a picture of themselves and how we can change the world. In history, people have made mass migrations and everything just for hope and change, right? But we're going to do the same thing sitting still. You know, it's upstairs. Change your mind, change the world, right? That's all we're going to do. And this is a great opportunity. I look forward to it. When we'd go to those demonstrations, I'd see all the nice young people. They're just nice young people. And just imagine to give them some information that can help, and then they can do it. You know, see, young people should be happy and enthusiastic about the future. They shouldn't be depressed. Oh, man. And you know, our kids, how they all became super students that they liked it here. Guess if they was paying for it, they wouldn't have liked it that much. I mean, their parents paid enough for us not to starve to death. But young people should not be in school panicking. How are they going to focus on their study? When you have young people committing suicide, it's because they don't, wait a minute, why? They don't have no hope, right? And people are living in this world, and hey, this is what happens. We're not putting up with that crap. No. We didn't have enough of Boss Man. No, we didn't have enough. Boss Man is a borderline idiot. He's not only an idiot. He just, something wrong with him. He don't do any self-research. Bezos and them, they go spend $1 zillion on a rocket ship to go out of space for 30 seconds. They don't know what else to do, right? Well, if you don't know what to do with the money, leave it alone. Give it back to the people. At least they'll figure out they can pay a couple of bills if they can't do nothing. Restore optimism in youth. Rid pessimism. Restore optimism in youth. Young people are always hopeful about the future. I'm going to be a airplane pilot. I'm going to be and they all, you know, when you're young, you don't have all them barriers. They used to tell us you can't do nothing, but still we tried anyway. Young people should be optimistic. Young people should have a picture, a utopia. You know what the world can be now? It can be utopian. It can be, because all the machinery, all of this, all of that, all you got to do is fix yourself, and everything else you can fix. Can you imagine, since the human being is sick, now he's going to kill all animals because he's crazy. He's going to destroy all the fish because this psychopath. Right? Since you are maladjusted, you just going to maladjust everything. That's the power, and that's what the angels said in the Quran. He can create mischief and shed blood. I know what you know, but I know what you know not. Right? That's what the Quran says. That's where we come in. I know what you know not. Just imagine. The world is going to see good niggas. Boy, that's going to be wonderful. And they're going to say, I didn't believe niggas could do that. That'd be wonderful. Just imagine that instead of everybody looking down on you, they'll be looking. Just give them the shock effect. You know, like the foreigners used to, do you know Al-Fatiha? And then you recite it. You know, so that's part of the healing. To heal not only Negroes, Chinamans, Latinos, do a healing thing, right? So everybody is healed. Like, you know, the people, they look healthy and everything, except they eat too much. So we've solved that problem, but everybody's crazy inside. Can you imagine? And the movies they see is crazy and everything. We're going to fix all of that. What the heck? You know, the white man tried to, those people, some people, try to turn you bad. We ain't going with him. We're going for good. And that, you talking about making him mad and don't know what to do, that's who a boss man is right now. Because everything he did to us was to make us mean and evil and want to get back at everybody, don't trust nobody. Oh, that's his whole program, and it didn't work. Hey, man, and you talking about somebody scratching their head, that's what boss man, he's scratching his head and his behind right now. Yes, he is. Because he figured if I do this, if I try to take this, it ain't worked. It just haven't worked. Restore optimism in you. Rid of pessimism, right? Okay. Best days are behind us, mean that's pessimism. The best days are in front of us are optimism. Okay, Global Citizens First to Save the Earth Project. So basically, I guess that everybody listening would get the idea. We're not on a pessimistic trip. We're not on a sad trip. We're going to help fix this. And we're going to have the greatest university. If we could have the best school in the region, just messing around, imagine what we can do as far as the world is concerned. The point I'm making, the world need us and we need them. Yeah, big time, just optimism. And if the Negro can spread optimism, people kind of say, the way y'all been treated, if you can be optimistic, hey, you can't outrun me. I bet you I catch up with you. So do good. Just have them say, you want to race? Yeah, let's go. It's an optimistic race, right? We're racing with optimism and hope. That's what we're going to share with the world. We're not sharing, I'm scared, I don't have, no, we're not going to do that. Boss man can do it. I don't like living in his world that he done created, and I don't like nothing he's done. The system, I just don't make you feel. I don't like it. He's too slow. He's too slow, and he's kind of mean too. You let him go for a while, he gets a little mean. Thank God that it wasn't made like that. And the last thing, boss man, the Quran says that he tried to make you fear poverty and everything, not giving charity, not doing good deeds. Make you fear, if I give these niggas their money, they gonna, right? And that's what we ain't going for that. I'd like to close by saying we thank all of y'all for putting up with us, and we put up with you too. Remember, y'all ain't been the nicest niggas in town. I mean, helping boss man and all that stuff. That's all right now, ain't no big problem. Forget it. Let's go for it. If you stick with us, boy, look at here. It's just like a drink. You buy this, it's going to make you happy, healthy. It's going to make you look good. You're going to get all the girlfriends and boyfriends. It's like a commercial. You take one drink of this optimism, and it's going to make your hair grow. You bald-headed people, going to make your hair grow. Right? You people with big feet, it's going to shrink your feet. I'm telling you, you gray-headed people, you take some of this optimism and your hair going to turn black again. Yes, it is. Not all of it, but all around the edges and wherever. That's one drink of this optimism. It's going to take 10 years off of your life. Everybody that becomes optimistic, this is a guarantee. Here it is, this optimism. One slug of this. One slug of this is going to take 10 years off your life. Yes, it is. You're going to be happy, healthy. You're going to lose weight. You're going to look better. It's going to put a smile on your face, I tell you. And if you've been lonely, you're going to get the prettiest woman in the world. At least in your eyes, she's going to be pretty. She may look, but in your eyes, see, you drink this here, it's going to change your vision. So you can be with Mama Tass Elliott, and she gonna look like, I'm telling you, Halle Berry. Yes, she is. Mama Cass Elliott is gonna look like Halle Berry. One drink of this juice here. See what it say? One slug. That's what we selling. And I'm gonna put, and if you drink it, I'm gonna send you my special reward card that anytime you're out on the highway and you need a drink of this elixir, you can go in, this is all over the country, you can go in there and hold up my special optimism psycho-wyco card, and you get a drink of this, and you're going to drive another 500 miles without getting sleepy. I'm telling you. And I'm putting my guarantee on this. You just drink one drink of this here. See, there it is right there. You just one slug. And I close with this. If you want happiness, health, wealth, and a future, you take Dr. Musa's Forever Weather Plan drink. It tastes good. It gets your mustache, your health, and you lose weight all at the same time. You can't beat this now. You can't get this in no drugstore. You can't, oh no, you can't send out for it either. You have to get this directly from me. Thank y'all very much. Assalamu alaikum.
I've heard Imams talk, but it seems their fear to upset boss man, even when we are being murdered in the streets. I appreciate someone speaking out. Right. I appreciate hearing someone speaking out.
Right. Well, that's good, yeah. But now we're going to try to fix all of that stuff. Like, there's no sense living in the Stone Age, where one group of people fear another and they kill them for nothing. That's insanity. Even animals don't do that. I mean, not that we're supposed to be better than animals, But I think they got the edge on us sometime, you know. Anyway, is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Thank y'all very much. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.